Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us on the Rochester Press Box. Bill Pucko with you here, along with Tariq Spence in the middle. Tariq, how you doing, man?
Pretty good. Looking forward to another good week of NFL action.
Yeah, boy, first 2 weeks have been great. Pat Duffy, what do you wear, a 68?
Yeah, come on. You don't know Victor Olofsson, now member of the NHL rookie team after this season? Beautiful. How do you not know Victor Olofsson, Bill?
I don't have a satisfactory answer for that.
I know.
I can tell you how many games that I've seen the Sabres play over the last 5 years, though. Not that many.
Hey, some of us love hockey more than others, Bill. What can I say?
Well, so with that in mind, let's talk some baseball, Tariq. We've got the baseball playoffs, 16 teams strong this year, 8 in each league going at it beginning this week. I'm hearing, and I don't really like it, that some of this situation might stick, that this expanded playoff thing and the experimentation of baseball for the season, some of the stuff may stick around.
Listen, here's what I do like. I don't like the one game you're in or you're out game. I've always hated that game. I feel it doesn't give them justice, but you play 3 games during the weekend anyway. So I like the 3-game series. I like the 5-game series. I like the 7-game series. You're going to get your top pitcher in every single series. That's why you have a number 1. That's why you have a number 2. I don't mind the playoff thing. I do think it's a lot of teams in. I mean, 16 teams. I mean, it's basically the Sweet 16 of college basketball.
Look, I know how you baseball purists are, and you're going to get your panties in a bunch, and everyone's upset. Look, baseball should have done this 20 years ago. Baseball, of all the 4 major sports, is the most regional of them. So the more teams you have involved in smaller markets, the better your numbers are going to be, the more fans are going to keep watching. Look, if the Bills didn't make the playoffs for 20-something years, right? Every Bills fan watched the NFL playoffs all playoffs long. Can you say that about fans of the Cincinnati Reds, fans of the Milwaukee Brewers, right? Smaller markets like that. The more teams you have involved in the playoffs in a regional sport, the more money you're going to make, the more young kids you're going to have watching important games, the better it is for your league. So, yes, they should keep this. They should have done it 10, 15, 20 years ago.
At its core, though, I just feel like baseball, you know, if you were to put the best and the worst teams together, the worst team is going to beat the best team in baseball 3 times out of 10. At its core, and with the change of the starting pitching and everything else, baseball's just not conducive to have a whole bunch of teams in a short series playoff situation that's going to reach, I don't think, a satisfactory conclusion. You're going to wind up with a whole bunch of, like, the 2nd seed through the 5th seeds winning the World Series every year, and the best teams are going to continually get screwed.
You're describing the NHL playoffs, which are arguably the most exciting playoffs, again, of the 4 major sports. Look, you look at the NBA. When you walk into the NBA playoffs, majority of the time, you know who is going to end up in the NBA finals together, right? Like this year, because of the insanity, it's a little bit different, and you still could have Celtics, Lakers playing each other. I would love to see crazy upsets and insane things happen in Major League Baseball, because that's going to lead the sports news the next day. It's going to matter, and it's going to get more eyes on your sport.
I love the idea of just seeing teams play in a 3-game series or a 5-game series. Listen, one thing that I can say about baseball is you want to give an opportunity for a team that's going to be hot to stay hot. And you also want to give an opportunity for a team that's a number 1 seed to prove they belong and deserve to be a number 1 seed. So if you got to play an extra couple of games here and there, it's worth it. So why not just do that? You're going to see all your superstars. You're going to be able to have an opportunity to see them play. There's plenty of dead games in between NFL games that you can get in. You will get more eyeballs of your stars if you play more games.
I think I've really become a traditionalist. I always like to think that in terms of baseball, that I'm somewhat a progressive. I don't see this working well for baseball, but you got 2 guys whose opinions I respect that are on the other side.
And cut the regular season down, Bill. I hate to say this too. Cut the regular season down. That's too many games. Cut them down to, if you can, 145, 140, something like that, if you're going to go to this expanded series.
Also, everyone gets a free ice cream sundae. If I go to the game, I want a free ice cream sundae. I get that when I walk through, too.
And double header, double scoop of ice cream, Duffy.
Oh, I'm getting double scoops anyway, man. I can't just have 1 scoop of ice cream.
Come on.
Hey, this is the Rochester Press Box, and we're talking our favorite football team next.
Original Bay Goodman Pizza, located on the corner of North Winton at Browncroft. There are 3 ways to get the original Bay and Goodman delivery. Go to baygoodman.com.
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us on the Rochester Press Box, talking the Buffalo Bills off to a 2-0 start. Pat Duffy, how encouraged are you by what you've seen so far?
Very encouraged. Look, there was a very smart, bearded, handsome man who said before the season that 50-1 odds for Josh Allen to win MVP were great odds to take. And another
I remember that.
Suited, not as handsome, but quite handsome man laughed in my face. Josh Allen leads the NFL in passing yards right now. He's got 6 touchdowns. He hasn't thrown an interception since December 15th. He has legitimate weapons around him. What Stephon Diggs has been able to do over the last 2 weeks is insane. Oh, then you have John Brown just casually catching 45-yard passes to ice games on 3rd and 9 with 2.5 minutes left. The only thing I'm a little bit nervous about, the linebacker situation going in against Los Angeles this week, right? You got your 2 arguably most valuable players on defense that could not be playing. We don't know as of this taping. And the running game looks like it's going to need a little bit of a shot in the arm if it's going to succeed. I'm hoping that they're leaning on the passing game because it's going so well. But other than those 2 things, I mean, what is there not to like about this Bills team?
Can I interject now? Can I just bring them down to reality? First of all, this isn't a shot against Josh Allen, who's taking on 2 teams that are terrible. But this is just a shot against those of you who believe what you're seeing on the field is really going to translate in multiple wins against a very good team. The Los Angeles Rams are a different team. Micah Kaiser was the defensive player of the week last week. Oh, by the way, they have Aaron Donald. Oh, by the way, they have Jalen Ramsey. This is a good defensive team. I'm not worried about the Jets. I'm not worried about the Dolphins, who you had to come back from to beat in that game for Josh Allen to be the offensive player of the week. So this isn't really against Josh Allen. And the biggest concern I have for the Bills, the one thing you haven't mentioned, 3rd quarter initiative. They look terrible coming out at halftime for both games, the Jets and the Dolphins. You can't do that against the Rams.
Well, see, here's the thing, Tariq. That 3rd quarter thing's been a problem for like the last 2.5 years. I understand that's a valid criticism. But when you sit here and say that another NFL team is so terrible that you should throw for 417 yards and 4 touchdowns, and you should hang 31 points, that's insane. I get that Saquon is down and you're a Giants fan and you're hurt, and that Daniel Jones is a joke of a quarterback prospect, so you're having a hard time. But don't take your pain out on me, man. I'm loving this. I've been waiting 2 decades for this. I'm going to soak it up, and I have proof for you that Bills fans should be confident this weekend.
Against the Rams?
Yes. Last season, the Buffalo Bills were flying high like they are right now. And the argument was, well, the Bills hadn't played anybody. And the Baltimore Ravens were coming to town. At the time, undefeated, unstoppable. Lamar Jackson, that defense was insane. And Bills fans braced to get blown out. They didn't win that game, but they contained Lamar Jackson, and they kept it close. The point I'm trying to make is you anticipate, Tariq, that the Rams are going to walk out of there with a 14-point win. Tell me that I'm wrong.
No. I didn't say 14-point win. I didn't say 14-point win. But this is a real NFL team. This isn't a team where their head coach could possibly be fired, the Jets, or a team in which they're just waiting for the young quarterback to take the place of the old quarterback, Fitzpatrick, who almost won the game. You were worried about that last week.
I say it every year. It has nothing to do with Fitz. It has everything to do with that. Like I said, if I needed a man to win a game to save my life and he didn't know he was the guy, I would pick Ryan Fitzpatrick every time because he keep having those performances. Look, there is good news for you, Tariq. There is very good news. You have, from Sunday all the way to when we tape the show again next week, to come up with a reason why you were wrong about your take and the Bills and the Rams this coming week.
I'm not saying the Bills are going to lose or win. All I'm going to say is this is an NFL team. This is not the Jets and this is not the Dolphins. This is a real NFL team.
Tariq Pickett.
Bills by a field goal because they're home.
Get out of my face! You go through that whole thing. You do that whole thing. Look, God. I almost cursed. That's how angry I am at you.
I know.
Pat, who you got? Like, I don't know. Who do you have, Pat?
I'm taking Buffalo, but I'm not taking it by 3. I think it's going to be within a field goal here. It's going to be tight. It's going to be a defensive struggle with firework pass plays. Write that down. A defensive struggle with firework pass plays. You're going to have maybe 300 yards of offense, 250 yards, 300 yards of total offense, but the offense will come from chunk passing plays from both Goff and Allen. And if I hit that on the head, I'm going to wear a gold coat next week because I'm the king of everything.
I'll fly you to Vegas. How about that?
The line is 2.5. I was a little surprised that the Bills were favored in this game. I'm picking the Rams 23-20. This is someone's got to. This is the Rochester Press Box. Like it or not, is next.
I love it.
Here's the Press Box Trivia question, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390.
I hate kickers. They get great glory when they make a game-winning field goal. Sorry, you've got one job to do. Do your damn job.
Falcon Around with Carl Falk. New episodes every Tuesday on Rock Sports Now.
Here's the Press Box Trivia answer, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390.
Are you facing criminal charges from a DWI and feel that you never imagined it could happen to you? Contact attorneys with years of experience as prosecutors and defenders. Contact Ganguly Brothers Law today for a free consultation. You can put your trust in us.
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us on the Rochester Press Box. This segment of the Press Box, like it or not, brought to you by Ganguly Brothers Law Firm. If you have a legal matter, contact Ganguly Brothers today for a free consultation. All right. Tariq, like it or not, Michael Jordan owning a NASCAR team.
Oh, yeah, I love this. I mean, Michael Jordan brings that brand over to NASCAR. Denny Hamlin is a part of it as well. Then he brings in Bubba Wallace as the driver. Listen, this will be a rocky start. This is something new. This is a new racing team, something they're planning for 2021. But it's a great opportunity. And I have to say this. I don't know, Duffy. I've learned more and heard more from Michael Jordan within the last year and a half, 2 years. Building hospitals, giving back, Black Lives Matter, putting money into education, now getting into NASCAR. He's done more within the last couple of years than I've ever seen him do before. I didn't even know he was in the NASCAR until this statement came out this week.
Yeah, it seems he's getting more comfortable being himself. Remember, there was that famous quote during the election. What was it, in 92? Why did you endorse somebody? Well, because conservatives buy shoes too, right? It seems now that he has either so much money or has become so comfortable being himself that he's going to stick himself out there and take risks where he thinks are socially appropriate.
Well, why shouldn't he be like the rest of us? I mean, there's been a great awakening this year. People are becoming a lot more active and involved in things like this. I think Michael had he's fallen right into where I think he ought to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pat, like it or not, Tyrod Taylor is getting bumped out of another starting, or rather, he's being reinserted into a starting job after losing this thing of the Chargers to Justin Herbert last year, who only threw for like 300 yards and nearly knocked off the Chiefs. How do you see this?
Any other NFL head coach that has this situation goes with Herbert the next week. If you're a football person watching from a football standpoint, it's obvious what you do. But I got myself a theory, and I think this theory has some legs. Anthony Lynn, you remember, was the offensive coordinator for Tyrod Taylor in Buffalo when Tyrod Taylor was benched that last game of the season to give Cardale Jones a start. I can't believe I'm even saying this out loud. This is a thing that actually happened. So, fast forward to a couple of years later. They end up together again in Los Angeles. I feel like Anthony Lynn feels like he might owe it to Tyrod Taylor to give him an opportunity to hold on to his job because of what happened to him when Rex Ryan was fired and Anthony Lynn took over as head coach for that one game. Having him in that offensive coordinator spot, it feels like he doesn't trust Justin Herbert all the way, which is insane based on what he was able to do. But from a loyalty standpoint, if you're a leader of men, which Anthony Lynn is right now, I can respect the fact that he's giving his guy an opportunity to go out and hold on to his job.
Well, if Tyrod Taylor is healthy, I mean, that chest injury was very out of the blue before the game, and I'm a little bit concerned about Tyrod Taylor. Hopefully he's okay, and it's health-wise as opposed to starting. But Herbert looked good. I mean, there's no shame in sort of understanding that this is Tyrod Taylor's just running a bad luck as a starting quarterback in the NFL. It's really no different than that. I understand the loyalty, but Herbert's the future. Everybody knows he's the future. He'll have plenty of time to play this season, but I'm a little worried about Tyrod Taylor and his ability to play football if he's got a chest injury before he actually plays the game.
I like Pat's point, too, though. I think Tyrod Taylor is a perfect example of a guy who really needs a break. He's kind of owed one here, I think. This is the Rochester Press Box. Unfinished business is next.
The Press Box Stat of the Week is being brought to you by McArdle's Restaurant in Fairport. McArdle's is open 7 days a week with dining available indoors and out, takeout and delivery. Come home to McArdle's.
And now to Eichel. He floated one.
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us on the Rochester Press Box. It's time for our last segment, Unfinished Business, and Pat Duffy starts us off.
So I brought up that Victor Olofsson was placed on the all-rookie team during the NHL awards that came out this past week, which is exciting. There was another very surprising piece of information. Jack Eichel, who, if you watch hockey, you know is a bona fide star, who's struggling on a team that doesn't have talent around him, came in 8th place in the Hart voting, MVP. That's a kid who didn't make the playoffs and who a lot of people didn't see play nationally. Yet despite all of that, he came in 8th place for the Hart. And I go, oh, wow, good for Jack Eichel. Then there was another stat that I saw, that was the highest that a Sabre had placed in Hart voting since like 92, 93 when Pat LaFontaine came in like 4th place. And it made me realize, how does an NHL franchise go from 92 to 93 to 2020 without having anyone place higher than 8th in Hart voting, for goodness sake? Like, I know that things are good for the Sabres, and I know that they haven't been good for a very long time. But when you put it in that kind of perspective, that you haven't had a player, when we've had quality players, whether it's Briere, whether it's Drury, whether it's Jason Pominville, even Dominic Hasek winning his awards, to have nothing like that for over 20, almost 30 years really puts into perspective not how far we've come from the awesome Sabres teams of the 90s and 2000s, but maybe even how far they still have to go.
For a number of people out there, you never saw Gale Sayers play. Why? Because he was before my era. But I would offer you to go to YouTube and go search Gale Sayers, December 12th, 1965. That was the rookie year for Gale Sayers, in which him and Dick Butkus were both up for Rookie of the Year. Gale Sayers won it. But he rushed for 6 touchdowns in that game. The first quarter, an 80-yard touchdown run. In the fourth quarter, an 84-yard touchdown run. Bears go on to win one of the greatest games on a muddy field that day with Gale Sayers. He was more than just a football player or somebody that was a character in Brian's song for Brian Piccolo. Understand that Gale Sayers was one of the greatest players with a short career and knee injuries that cut it short. He's one of the greatest players in NFL history, and all started when he just wanted to change his life from his dad, who struggled for a number of years and moved from job to job. He got an education at Kansas, played well there, and made himself an NFL legend. That's all he wanted to do. That's exactly what he did, and we lost him at the age of 77.
I let little things bother me, maybe too much. One of my particular pet peeves is that the label that you have on the outside of flavored coffee cream cans, you have to peel that thing off before they'll allow you to recycle the container. And I'm convinced that I'm going to jab myself in the wrist with a steak knife just trying to peel that thing off sometime. And again, maybe I worry a little bit too much about these things. But another one that bothers me is trying to make the onside kick in the NFL a little more relevant. Well, up until not long ago, I promoted a rule change that would go along the line so that when you reach the 2-minute warning, if a team scores a touchdown within the last 2 minutes of the first or second half, they get to keep the ball. Winners take in playground vernacular. And think of the implications and how much strategy would be involved as to whether you want to score before or after the 2-minute warning, because you know you're going to get the ball back if it's after. Well, the Atlanta Falcons came up with a better idea this week. Simply don't cover the kick. I love this. So the Dallas Cowboys pull out a miracle win over the Falcons because they kick a ball. Greg Zuerlein kicks a ball that's spinning on a top on its side, and nobody wants to touch it. It's like the ball is possessed, or it's a bomb, and no one will touch it. So Dallas recovers. They kick a field goal at the end of the game, and Atlanta somehow manages to lose both that game and a great deal of dignity. So anyway, based on that, how about this? As a rule change, let's take what the Atlanta Falcons did and use it as inspiration. Neither team can touch the ball until it goes 10 yards. And then it's a total free-for-all within the last 2 minutes of the half. Just think of how great that would be. And no team would really ever be out of an NFL game. Brilliant. Don't you think? Thank you to the Atlanta Falcons for that. That is Unfinished Business, and that is our program. Guys, you can save your comments. You have a long history of disagreeing with any time I come up with a crazy idea, so I don't expect support here. Nice
Good
show.
to see you, Duffy.
Tariq, Pat, thank you very much. I'll see you next week for the Rochester Press Box.